think we're live, Krystal.
It looks like it's live to me.
Yeah, amazing. All right, and we have Mindy joining us, I hope, as well. I think she's having a little bit of technical difficulty, and then Anne-Marie is having some technical difficulty as well. So I think that she's going to be in our comments, hopefully in our comments. But welcome, everyone, to the very first Broomtalk, which is just going to be a casual live stream chat discussion, witches roundtable type of thing. And we'll have different themes every month. I'm hoping to at least do it every month. If it's popular, who knows? Maybe we'll do it a couple times a month. I don't know. But I'm just really happy to be here. And I'm happy to have just so many of guests. And in fact, I think all three of the people who are going to be here were guests on the podcast. And we have Anne-Marie here. So hi.
Hi.
Sorry you can't be in video form, but we're glad that you are here, Anne-Marie. So what I'd like us to do to start is, Krystal, I'm going to start with you. Tell us a little bit about what we need to know about you as a guest.
Well, I've been a witch my whole life. Like it's not it's funny, even before I had words for it, there was this bit of conflict around who am I? And I was like, I would argue like things are not right. You know, I was raised in a really Christian home. And so there was a lot of, it didn't mesh for me, right? So I would argue different points with them. And so at about 9, my parents both divorced and remarried. And my new stepmom her history was more of gypsy witchcraft. So a lot of very natural magic, a lot of divination was her specialties. So I learned divination like really early, palm reading, pendulum work, all of that sort of thing. Yeah. So for me, witchcraft started so young, I don't even remember a time it wasn't a part of my life.
Okay. That's amazing. Mindy, we're just kind of introducing ourselves. So tell us what we need to know about you.
Do I have to pinpoint it down? No, I'm just kidding. So my path I've kind of always known there was something different with me. I come from a family that I joke and says has neon green thumbs. We've always been into nature and stuff, but it wasn't until I was in college and had the ability to start kind of finding myself that I started realizing there's way more to me than I'm realizing. And as I started developing that, I started developing more and more and wanting to learn more and more. And it's been, I'm going to age myself, well over 20 years now that I have been following along this path and still wanting to learn more and more and grow more and more. And I'm an intuitive wellness coach as well. I love working with crystals on the intuitive side of things. And yeah.
Awesome. Glad you're here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you're both here. And Anne-Marie, you are more than welcome to introduce yourself in a comment, and I will post it up for everyone to see. And as for myself, I'm Mela Borawski, and I'm the host of Bell Book and Candle. I do a lot of other things as well. I have a business called 3 Rays of Light where I do spiritual coaching and hypnotherapy and just a lot of different things like that. We have full moon ceremonies. And I, like Mindy, have been on this path, maybe not out in the open, but for over 20 years. So I'll be 50 this year, so a good portion of my life. And before that, I was seeking, I was searching. I just didn't have a name for it. So I was always trying to be connected, except for the part where I was really angry at God, which there was a time. I'm sure everyone has something like that. But I was always searching for this connection with the divine. So that was just, it was an amazing thing, like a coming home to really be able to get this connection to nature. So when Anne-Marie posts her thing, I will pop that up as well so y'all can meet Anne-Marie. We also wanted to have Robert on. He'll be on a future Broomtalk, but he had something come up and could not be here. So let's see what Anne-Marie has to say. Anne-Marie, hello. I am Lady Ketha. I co-instruct Walking the Pagan Path with Mela, founder of the Sacred Well and Midlands Pagan Collective. Anne-Marie, so glad to have you here as well. So let's just start with something somewhat simple. It might be simple. I don't know. But what is your definition of green witchcraft? If someone said, what even is a green witch? And we may have all different definitions, and that's fine. But what is a green witch to you? Krystal?
Well, I'll go first. To me, it's very much about living in alignment with the planet that we live on, right? We have to coexist. So for me, it is living in alignment with and having that relationship with our environment. So for me, it's all encompassing. It encompasses my work, my personal life, my belief system, my way of being. It encompasses everything about who I am and how I exist in the world.
I love that. Mindy, what about you?
Back in college, I had a bumper sticker on my car, and it said, "The earth is our mother, treat her with respect." And that has always resonated very deeply with me. I want to give to the earth. I want to get from the earth. And it's not just, I guess it is just earth. It's nature. It's anything to do with nature. It's not just green things in nature. It's not just plants. It's the rocks, the beings, everything that has to do with nature. I want it. I want more of it. I want to surround myself with it. I want to be a part of it. And I just want more of it in my life. And as I grow and get more in my life, I still want more in my life. And it's just, there was a time in my path, in my journey, where I couldn't get the green as much as I wanted to. And I had to find other ways of getting that into my life and stuff. And I've always gone back to nature. It's how I cleanse myself, how I ground. It's just, it's hard to describe because it's me.
It's deep in our souls, right? Yeah. Deep in our bodies and our minds. And for me, it is how I get healed. I'm an empath as well. And water, running water, especially waterfalls. I love rivers and waterfalls, and being out in the forest and just having my bare feet in the ground. That's how I heal. And that's how I just find my place in the world, if that makes sense. That's how I just feel like I'm alive.
I want my feet in dirt way too often.
Even in the winter.
Yep. And I live in Massachusetts, so that's not very easy for most of the year.
Maybe for short periods of time, right?
Yeah.
I read somewhere that one of the ideas that, and I think it was a book or something, for people who maybe live in the city, who don't have a lot of earth around them, to have a pot of dirt in your home and to just put your hands down in that. Just almost like a grounding portal. I really love that idea.
That sounds amazing.
So Anne-Marie says, someone that respectfully and honorably uses and supports earth. I love that as well. I think about even things like recycling and saving different things as part of green witchcraft, if we're talking about being caretakers of the nature around us. So as we think about practices of a green witch, not so much what is a green witch, but witchy practices that you may be involved in, what are some specific things that you feel that you do that would be under the green witchcraft umbrella?
I hand make a lot of my body self-care products, and everything I put into those either comes from my garden, which Massachusetts, I don't have a very long growing period, or I can source it and get it dried from other places and stuff like that. So it works into my daily practices very much. Teas. I love having stuff I've grown, that I've dried, that I know I've put in the energy and helped create that life, then being able to give back to me and helping calm me and relax me or stimulate me or whatever I need at that moment.
Yeah. Herbalism, essences, flower essences, all that sort of thing kind of works into green witchcraft, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
What about you, Krystal?
Well, I don't make as much stuff like Mindy does. I've always wanted to, and never. I don't have that skill. I don't have that gift. I've always been more of the make my space around me in alignment. So I like to use, recycling stuff. You brought that up, and I bought unpaper towels, or using products that are renewable and reusable, and not using just paper products when I can, or doing things like keeping fresh eucalyptus in my shower.
I do that too.
Yeah, I do. I like to make my own, and I haven't done it in a few years with my lifestyle. I love plants. I do. I almost can't exist without them. But my lifestyle for the last few years, I have become a serial killer of plants, and so it hurts me that I can't have them. But I cannot keep them alive with the way we move around and with the way it just isn't possible. So for me, it's I have to spend more time in nature. I get out and I literally have to go hug trees. I really, really do. But for me, like you, I have healing practices too that I need. Trees absorb, and plants in general, but they absorb so much energy. So if I need to get stuff out, I'll go scream at a tree. And they love it. They flourish from it, right? If you have your I find every city we move to, I'm like, I gotta go find my screaming tree. Who am I going to yell at? Because this is who takes all of the stuff and then just flows it right back in and gives it back to me as life. And it just works out that way. Oh, yeah, Emery, mine too. My kitties always wanted to murder my plants. That was always a battle going on. And water. I'm a Leo, which is funny because I'm a fire sign, but water is definitely my element.
I'm Sagittarius.
Are you?
And that's a fire sign too, but I love water.
I'm a Virgo, so I am earth to the core.
There's something about water that just, it is so soothing to my soul. It's cleansing to my soul. Honestly, for a while, even during my work day, because I work from home, and so in my space, the TV is always in my space. And I will even turn on during the day, YouTube videos that are just fish with music so that I can have that sort of the tinkling of the water noises and the movement of the fish, but then some music that's not going to be a distraction that I can work to. And that's usually how I even set up my home during the day. That's the first thing nowadays. The first thing that happens is cat games on the TV for about an hour before nap time. And then I get to watch my videos. But, the boss she's in charge.
Of course.
So.
Anne-Marie knows all about bossy cats. Yeah, I have some, my Chihuahua is under my desk right now because she snuck in there, which she often does. I swear she hides somewhere in my office and I close the door thinking she's not in here and suddenly poof, there she is.
There she is.
Yeah, mine just woke up from a nap and she's literally now moved to sitting right here next to me. So I'm surprised. She likes to usually walk around behind. She likes to be on screen. She's a very, very camera hoggish kind of girl.
So
And she just got her haircut.
would y'all say that animals have to do? I mean, they're part of nature. Would that be part of green witchcraft as well?
Oh, absolutely. And I think everybody connects with animals differently. I don't know if all green witches will kind of connect on the same level, but I have at my house, I have a cat. I have an English Mastiff who's bigger than I am.
Wow.
And we have a Russian tortoise who actually buries herself in dirt for a good part of the year. So and lately I've really been connecting with the Russian tortoise and taking her outside, and she was eating dandelions outside today, and it was just so like peaceful. And I'm like, but you're a Russian tortoise. I never thought I would connect with that animal. I'm a cat girl through and through, but this little Tiny, it's her name, Tiny, is like grabbing me in lately. It's kind of funny how your soul knows what you need, and apparently right now I need to go dig a hole like my tortoise does.
Oh, yeah. I never thought that I would connect to chickens. I never had chickens before, but I always had this thing in the back of my head where I set it as a goal that when I had property, I would have chickens, but it was just for the eggs. It wasn't because I thought they would be pets, you know? But I have connected so much to my chickens since I got them last year. And one of them, which is named Bugsy, she'll come sit on my shoulder. Ever since she was a chick in the house, she's come and just been a little, love bug to me. And people don't really realize that chickens have personalities, just like my goats. Every single one of them has a personality. And chickens do too.
Yep, I grew up with a goat. He did not like my sister, but he loved me. But I had chickens and goats growing up, and they definitely have, yes, us in Massachusetts have chickens and goats too.
So one thing that got brought up that I think is important to make clear is that you can be a green witch even if you have what they call a black thumb, even if you aren't a gardener, even if you don't have plants in your home. Correct?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I haven't been able to have plants for a couple of years, but I would love to. And I would still say I'm about as green as they come. So
yeah. So what do you do if you're not a gardener, if you kill all your house plants, or you have maybe children or pets like we talked about? How does a non-plant green witch actually connect to nature? What kinds of things can they do?
Well, I literally have it in my calendar every single day. I have an hour and a half blocked out to go outside and spend time outside in nature. Right now where I'm at, we're on a golf course. So I literally go walk the golf course every morning. I have the whole thing to myself and it's mine. And so I go do that, but I have to make time to be outside in nature. It just listening, silence, peace, that whole, and just being in touch with standing in the grass and getting outside. That is a must for me. If I can't have plants in my house, I have to be able to get outside in something, because I have to be able to connect with that earth. And otherwise it's just, I like to do smells a lot if I can, with like essential oils. That will help me connect. So like if I'll make like carpet sprinkles or whatever with some baking soda and some pine oil and parsley, actually, which is great for prosperity, and just make up my own little carpet sprinkle stuff. And that will brings it in a little bit. And if I can't get outside, I have to open my windows for at least 10 minutes like even through the middle of winter. This winter we spent half the winter in Michigan and half of it in Minnesota. So not warm at all, let's be clear. And still at least once a week, I'm like, we got to open a window for like 5-10 minutes and just get some energy movement in here, because I will get very sensitive to the stagnant energy in my space. So making sure and getting things moving is for me, that's one of the things I will do for it. And bringing in earth elements. I like to put salt in the corners of my house, right, to cleanse. Do salt cleanses in the corner. It'll help with the energy in that. So, I guess dirt would work. I just tend to use salt more so.
Yeah.
That's how I learned it. I guess it's just sort of, and in my professional training too, I know salt will work better as far as the cleanse. But so I just do those little things that's just sort of part of, it's like brushing my teeth.
Yeah.
It's just one of those, it just sort of becomes, to me, I think it's just it sort of becomes part of your being, it's just that natural way of how do you witch?
Yeah.
How do you witch in the world? When you wake up, how do you put your witch pants on? Like,
right. Everybody does it different, but we all do it.
Right. There's that first year where it's all about reading the books and doing it the way the books say. And then eventually when you start to kind of own this, I feel like when you kind of own that who I am, and you get to be, and you accept this, how I witch is good enough.
Yeah.
I think
so
that's
important.
To me, that's the biggest part about just being okay with your greenness is good enough. Your witchiness is good enough. The way you do it, as long as you're in alignment with all of that soul stuff is in alignment, right? You're in alignment with your planet and your space and your being and your purpose. And
yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And Marie says volunteering to go pick up trash is a great thing to do. I think that's a good idea as well.
I'm a crystal girl, and crystals come from nature. They're, as my husband calls them, rocks. Pretty rocks, but they're rocks. And if I'm not feeling green or balanced or centered or whatever, I know I can rely on my crystals to kind of give me what's missing, help me find what I'm needing. And it's definitely, especially like if I'm going someplace that I know nature isn't going to happen, like airport, not that I've been to one in a long time, but anything like that, I make sure I have some nature with me. I would love to just put darts in my pockets, but I don't think airport security would like that. So I have my crystals and I do, if I can't, sometimes I'll do essential oil sprays, but I'll do them with salt water, distilled water with salt. And then the salt kind of helps bring that in a little bit for me as well. But definitely typically have a pocket full of crystals.
I like crystals as well. One of the things that I do that I think is really part of being a green witch for me is for my offerings for deities and offerings for the land spirits and things like that. One of the things that I've just naturally drawn to give is the first bloom on any of my blooming flowers. So, as soon as any certain plant blooms, that first bloom comes off and gets put on my altar as an offering.
I love that.
Yeah, that's just one of the, I don't know how I started doing that, but it feels good to me. It feels like almost like that first fruits kind of a thing. It just happens to be a flower that I'm giving.
I'm a seasonal altar person. I don't necessarily, I follow the wheel of the year, but I kind of make in like the middle of winter in this area. It's dark, it's dank, it's cold. So I'll go grab something from a basket or something that I had made, and I'll put something completely out of season on my altar for a couple days, and it just changes my mood. Even just putting orange peel on my altar for a couple days during those really dark days of winter, it just brightens everything back up. And it's such a simple thing. I have 2 sons at home who are always eating fruit. So give me your orange peels and I'll smell them for a couple days, and we'll all benefit.
Do you soak them in vinegar?
I haven't.
I've done
If
that.
you take your orange peels and you soak them in like a mason jar, witches, jars, find a jar, and let them soak in vinegar for like 2 weeks. It'll make a great cleanser. It cleans everything, but you'll have the citrusy. Like I like pine in my carpet cleaner stuff for that same, but orange works really good too.
So
and I'm a rock collector too.
I've done it in my moon water, but I hadn't done it in vinegar, so I'll have to try it. And it'll be even better in vinegar.
Yeah, because vinegar has all the cleansing properties, and of course, not all the toxic chemicals. I hate the toxic chemicals. I try to go all natural as much as possible in all areas of my life, medicine and healing and cleansing and cleaning and all of those things. So yeah, definitely the vinegar with the orange works really good for a cleaner, and you get all the citrus. Yeah, that's a fun one. I collect rocks everywhere I go too. Just sort of, I like crystals too, but I just find rocks, and rocks and so I keep them in my sinks.
I find pine cones.
Because from a feng shui standpoint, the earth element of rock balances out the metal and water elements of like the bathroom or the kitchen. So you will find my sinks full of wishing stones that I have collected from just every city that we move to, right? And we move every couple of months. So every city we've moved to, I've just got bags of rocks that I've picked up from here's where my little walking space here. I've got one that I found that has my initials on it that it's just literally colored into the stone, and it's my favorite one. So that one lives on my desk. But it's my favorite rock. It literally has my initials.
I have jars of beach sand. Jars of beach sand.
Jars of all sorts of stuff.
Empty, full.
Right. One thing that I can't remember if it was Krystal or Mindy that mentioned this, but you mentioned about having the what was it, the birds or something like that on your TV, or the cat TV and things. Yeah. I do that as well. I put the birds on, and it's just the tweeting of the birds, and sometimes there's a waterfall sound. So for someone that just can't get out in nature, maybe you're inner city and all you have is maybe the sidewalk edges, you could find a YouTube channel that has beautiful nature, and some of them will play 8-10 hours and just have that.
There's some that live stream all day.
Oh, wow.
There's some that live stream all day. Literally, I can turn it on in the morning and it'll play for all day, 10-12 hours, and never shut off.
The smart speakers. All the smart speakers have channels and stuff like that you can do on them too.
That's amazing.
I've just found all these live stream channels that are just music and images. So yeah, they're really fun. Yeah.
Jars. Witches in jars. I mean, that's just memes everywhere. I sleep with a lot of natural sounds as well. Any of y'all do that? Rain or water. Well, I love water, so it's usually water and birds, or water and rain. Rain on a tent. You don't?
I don't, but my 12-year-old does.
Okay.
My youngest son is very nature, and he, even as a little guy, even littler than he is now, would always, the sound of nature. It's funny though, when we moved in the house we live in though, we moved from a more city to a more country, and he freaked out one of the first nights in the house and shut his window. It was really hot, and I'm like, buddy, why'd you shut your window? And he's like, there are weird noises out there, mommy. They were the peepers, but more of the city living, we didn't hear the peepers. But now that we're much more country, but now I catch him during the winter, he puts the peepers on and falls asleep to the peepers.
Wow.
So it's kind of,
That's interesting, yeah.
I guess it's his sound.
Yeah. Rain is my sound, I guess. Water's my sound. I want to talk about intuitive spell casting and intuitive rituals. And even though this is, I feel like this still has something to do with green witchcraft, but the episode that came out on the podcast today had Chelsea Quint talking about how to cast spells more intuitively, because especially, and this is not just new witches, but anyone, you'll get a book, it will call for various ingredients, some which are found halfway across the world, and you have to go here, there, and everywhere to get all these special ingredients and stones and this, that, and the other. And so they'll try to get this recipe to follow exactly. They'll miss an item, and so it's just, all right, screw this, I ain't doing it. But when you do it intuitively, you use the recipe more as a container. That's how she described it, a container. And that's just like a skeleton, and you put your own self into it. How has that worked, or is that a practice that y'all have in your lives? How has intuitive spellcasting or intuitive rituals worked with you?
Well, for me, I was kind of taught that way. I mean, I sort of had a little bit of instruction, but it was sort of, and so for me, it's intuitive has always been my way of doing it. I tried for a few years of following by the book, and it didn't work for me. Yeah. But intuitively, what I find for me is, and it actually probably was articulated best, strangely enough, at a personal growth seminar that I went to way, way, way back when I really dove into my healing journey. And and what they said there was that, your seminar begins when you pay. And I sort of think intuitive spellcasting is very much the same, as far as your spell starts when you start the plan. Like, as soon as you start planning and deciding, well, I need to do a spell, and what does the spell need to encompass, and what are the ingredients all of that is part of the spell. Like, that is where the momentum starts. When you get to the actual act of casting your circle and raising your energy, like, that's the culmination. That's the orgasm of the spell, if you will. That is not, all of the rest is foreplay leading up to the good part. Like, let's be clear. That is what it really is. So for me, intuitive spellcasting starts with planning myself. That's what makes it mine, and that's what gives it its power. And that is, if I'm trying to use your spell, I'm trying to encroach on your power. I'm never going to be able to wield your power the way I can wield my own. But if I cast my own spell, I can wield the shit out of some power, because I'm using all of my own, and I'm directing it, bam, right where I want to go. Like, that's my views on it, but that's
man, that's really thought-provoking, because that kind of comes into the fact of how words have power. So if you're already thinking of words and thinking of intention and why do I want to do this, you are already putting the power into it. I think that's really important, what you just said.
Intuitiveness with me is just natural. It's just always the way it's been. Even back in college when I was learning and discovering all this stuff, and I'd be reading the books and I'd be looking up the spells and I'd be looking up the recipes, and I'd go, I don't like that. I want to do it my way. I'd rather use this than that. I want this outcome, not that outcome. And I mean, I'm a firm believer. It's the intent you put out. I mean, my spell could be stirring my soup that night that I'm creating for my family. It doesn't have to be this fantastical thing I'm creating. It can be. I love it when it is, but it can be as simple. I mean, intuitiveness is what your soul wants, what your heart wants, what's there, but you don't realize is there, what's missing, but you don't realize is missing. So as you're working intuitively, this, as Chris was saying, this power becomes so you that I don't want your words on the paper. I want to put my words on that piece of paper, and I want to use that for me, and I want to use that to help in other ways. I write meditations, and I've actually found myself lately, as I'm writing the meditations, they've become more of like I'm not casting a spell on you, but I'm walking you through a process, and I want you to take it with me and guide it with me. So even like that has turned into an intuitive side. I'm just going with it. If it's working for now, it's working for now. Mm-hmm. And like Krystal, I loved how you said the power thing, like that is resonating very deeply with me right now. And it's totally true. I don't want, like, I'll follow your guideline. I'll take your recommendations, but the reason you wrote that isn't 100% necessarily the reason I'm looking for. Your thoughts on love, my thoughts on love, your thoughts on protection, my thoughts on protection. There's going to be differences because there should be. And I think that's where that intuitive, just letting it happen, just letting it flow really comes into play. And that's so natural. And I don't think you can get any more green than that.
I agree.
And Anne-Marie says, I was casting spells before I knew what I was doing. When I first started on this path, I spent way too much money and time, trying to replicate spells from other people. Once I started casting intuitively, I started getting incredible results. Yeah, definitely for me as well.
It seems like it's a lot like food, right? Like, when all of a sudden your body is all of a sudden craving bananas because you need the potassium, right? Yeah. And it's just like, I want bananas. Well, it's because your body needs food. I think your magic is the same. Mm-hmm. Your magic, if you just tune in, you know what the spell needs to get the results that you want.
Oh, but yes, you do.
And what sucks is, and especially as women, is, and as women in this patriarchal society that we live in, we are so cut off from that, and being taught this, that it's, I don't even know how to articulate what I wanted to say now. I'm gonna lose.
I think we feel it, though. We feel it.
Yeah, that it's like we've been taught that we should not trust ourselves.
Right.
And so we don't. Right. And so we don't trust that what we might think is good enough, that we have to always turn to somebody else for the right way to do it. Because we've been taught that our power is pretty non-existent. Right. Like that's how, we can't trust ourselves because we're girls.
Right. And since birth, it has been ripped from us, even by advertisements and everything.
And never mind imposter syndrome. Never mind that.
Yeah, right.
Right. Exactly. So then it sort of is, but I feel like if you just tune in and trust, that was probably the biggest thing I've ever learned on my whole journey is just when I learned to tune in and trust me, and I think about what does this really need, and just listen to myself, that's where all the answers will come from. It's like, oh, I need a yellow candle and, an emerald and this, I'm going to do that. And it just sort of is like, oh, well, there, all of a sudden I just have a spell.
Yeah. I think sometimes people come from, and I don't want to name any religions or anything, but they come from religions where they are not only taught to fear doing something wrong, but they also have just the natural fear of something happening to them. And so they bring that into their witchcraft where, oh, if I don't have this specific stone, even if it costs, $50 and I have to go across the country to get it, then I'm going to do it wrong. Yep. And something bad will happen if I do that. And so that's something that we have to change our mindset about as well, is you cannot bring that fear-based right or wrong type thing into your witchcraft.
You also have to leave behind the thought that if so-and-so, or what if this person, that judgment, and that judgment that has come down and down and down and down and down, and it's just ingrained in us, whether we're being judged or not, we're judging ourselves, and that gets in the way. That muddles and muddies everything up. And then going into trusting yourself, all that stuff starts going away. Like all of a sudden you're like, oh, that makes sense now. Okay, that's what I'm supposed to do. Yes, I do need that yellow candle. And yes, I do need that emerald because that's what I need. And it doesn't matter.
Right. And if it doesn't work, try something else. It's not the end of the world. You're not breaking something. You're not, tearing the fabric of time and space.
If something doesn't smell good, like if you're not attracted to a certain scent that's listed, find something else you like. It's going to speak to you more.
Louise has a nice comment for us. Boy, have you ladies really just spoken to me. I can really relate. Love it.
Very cool. Louise.
Yeah, I think there's just so much around there's so much around doing things wrong. And I think a lot of us grow up too with this being shamed for not knowing things before you learned them.
Yeah.
And so that will come out too with this whole, I can't do, if I do it wrong, I can never do it again. I can't ever cast a spell again. Like I have to cast this spell right the first time because this is the only shot I have at it.
That's so much pressure.
Oh my God, I have to save the whole world in this one candle.
Right.
What in the world?
I have people ask me. I have women ask me all the time. I have a Facebook group that I post about stuff like this all the time, and I'll get messages. Mindy, if I do this, am I going to bring evil into my life? No, honey, just because you used sage instead of rosemary or thyme or whatever, you're not gonna attract. It's all in your intent. Is your intent to bring evil into your life? No, then you're fine. I don't know where this evil guy on her shoulder came from, but no. I
hear that a lot too. Yeah, people are it's just that fear. They're so afraid of breaking something, of something bad happening, of them, opening up a portal to hell, or, with doing a prosperity spell or something. And y'all, let me just tell all the listeners, you just breathe and have fun. And that's one of the things. I can't remember if it was in Chelsea's or someone else's, but playing with your spell casting, playing with your rituals, having fun, enjoying it.
God, yes. Magic is supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
Like, this is supposed to right. I remember spells where I would just be like, oh my God. And it was just like, why is this fun? Like, I'd really rather get, wah and have a good time with it. Even if it's wrong, it's going to work out better. Like, the end result is going to work out way better when your magic is coming from joy rather than coming from, oh shit.
Exactly.
Normally I only say that now when I burn myself with the candle.
Anne Marie has had fun with some candles and spells before. Maybe she'll tell us about that. But I think that, you can come into spell casting and rituals with all sorts of emotions. We come into it with anger. We come into it with all these various things, and that's all valid. But when it comes down to it, if you following your witchy path and having a relationship with deities, if that's your choice, or plant spirits, or casting spells, if that is stressing you out and creating anxiety, that's different from bringing in your emotion. Whatever emotion you have going on, you can channel that into your spell. Yep. But if you are stressed out because you think you're going to just screw it up, then, it's just not even worth it. Yeah. And it's not the yellow candle you used either. It's you.
You're going to screw it up with that attitude.
I think we can all agree that early on in the path, it's very common to be, if I don't follow this by the book, if I don't follow this in order, if I don't do this as directed. But then as your path grows and changes and the light shifts and you open your eyes to new things, you're like, actually, I want to revisit that thing I did a year ago, but I'm going to do it in my order this time. I'm going to do it in a different way. And that's how I personally started playing with like using my intuition and stuff. As I'm planting the plants, I like having a little chat with her and letting her know I appreciate her. When my son goes and cuts chives out of the garden, I remind him to thank the plant. I mean, not everybody does that, but it's fun. It's well, maybe I think everybody does, but I know they don't. But it's the fun way. I mean, and it's injecting that little playfulness every opportunity we can. Walk barefoot through your garden. Who cares if you step on a rock? There's probably 6 million other rocks you're going to step on. Maybe that rock needs to be part of your collection now.
Maybe it needs to be in Krystal's sink.
Yeah. Yep, I'll throw some in her direction. Here, have one for your sink, Krystal.
So let's kind of go into plants and herbs and things like that. Are y'all familiar with the term plant ally? Y'all have a plant ally, some plant or herb. And if you're not an herbalist and you're not into gardening, that's perfectly fine too. I'm sure a lot of our listeners are like that. But for me, I'm very much attracted to rosemary and rue, that sort of thing. Mindy, I saw you shake your head. Do you have a plant ally?
So house plant right now, my plant ally would be my snake plant. I'm very drawn. I have one in my office and one in my bedroom. I find very much peace when I'm with them. I did just get a whole bunch of brand new baby succulents, so we'll see what those little buggers turn into and see what they grow into. Herbs, I actually didn't like rosemary for a long time and I don't know, I guess I'm like drawn to like cilantro. I love growing mints and lemon balms and those, but I make sure they're in containers so they don't take over my entire yard. My go-to like perennial plant ally, I am very much drawn to irises. I always have, and there's just something about the grace and the beauty and the colors of the iris. And I have an annual plant ally as well. I love zinnias. Oh, those just brighten and wow, I didn't realize I loved as many plants. I'm just, right now I'm loving it. Massachusetts, everything's waking up. So my violets just started popping and the forsythia just started popping and my mini lilac is about to come to life. So I like plants.
Anne-Marie's cats just don't want her to have plants. Krystal, what about you?
Yeah.
You said your cats like to get your plants, right? Or you?
Well, yeah, they always have, in particular, liked to. But we've been nomads, for a couple years, and keeping plants alive on the road is, like I said, I've become a serial killer. Yeah. I had to get rid of them all when we gave up our house. I have like a jungle of plants. And, I ended up giving most of them actually to my little neighbor when we moved out. I had been going to bring a bunch of them to my daughter-in-law, and we ended up not having room in the vehicle with us. So my neighbor got more than she bargained for when I moved out. Probably a couple, $1,000 worth of plants. Wow.
I wish I was your neighbor.
Right. Yeah, because pothos are I love them, and I like to I like cuttings. I like to start new ones and propagate new plants. So I'll end up with a whole house full, but I haven't been able to do it. So for me, it's like, I just want to go to other people's houses who have plants and you can go do whatever. Just let me sit in your living room and like absorb. That's why I have to spend so much time outside lately, because I can't have them. I've tried and then I murder them and then I feel guilty.
Is there an herb that you just really like to cook with, Krystal?
Oh, I hate to cook.
You hate to cook?
I hate to cook.
Not a kitchen witch, huh?
I am so not a kitchen witch. No. I'm a CEO witch. I'm a CEO witch.
What about somebody an herb that you put in your mixed drink?
I more actually like fruits. I like watermelon, like in my water, or lemons in my water. I like to put a little bit of fruit in my water. Yeah, I'm like that too, starting new plants and giving them away. I love to just, like, everybody should have plants. Here you go. I made some new plants. And
My mom
has always been.
my mom does that every year. She has her house. She has over 100 potted plants that she brings out for the summer. And then right before fall, she propagates everything. And I literally gave 5 of my good friends each 5 pots of plants. And they're, and she actually has a potted geranium that was my grandfather's, who passed away 20 plus years ago. And she still has one of his hints. That's what I mean by the neon green thumb just is down my bloodline. And she had a cactus that was well over 6 feet tall that my father gave her for her 1-year anniversary. They've been married 50 years.
Wow.
The mother cactus died, but she still has babies from it.
That's incredible.
So it's like every fall, my husband's like, oh God, your mom's going to give you more plants. I'm like, yep. By the end of the winter, I've probably killed half of them because they just don't live in the same house. But yeah, it's pretty neat what she is capable of doing with plants. I'm incredibly envious of that part. She doesn't know this side of her. She doesn't get what it is she's doing or how she's doing it. I mean, her garden is gorgeous, and she just doesn't. I so want to tell her.
Intuitively, I guess.
Oh, absolutely! It's interesting to watch.
So if anybody's listening that kills plants, and it's not because of cats or anything, you just think you can't keep a plant alive, I'm going to tell you a plant that you can keep alive. I think you can keep it alive. The easiest plant I have found for indoor is the ZZ plant. And I can't say the actual name of it because it's this Zora something Z. But you look up ZZ plant, and it is a gorgeous plant, and you can go weeks without watering it. It doesn't need a lot of light. So it can be just in a shaded place, and it is beautiful and grows like crazy. So ZZ plant, for anyone out there that just wants to have a house plant and kills things.
Yeah. My green thumb is gone. I killed an air plant, last one I killed. Like, really? An air plant? How do you kill an air plant? Like, I used to have a green thumb. I don't know what happened.
I have so many air plants, I forgot about one, and that's how I killed that one.
Yeah, I totally killed it. I killed an air plant. I just can't. I can't have more plants until I have my own place, and I don't have to try to do it like this because I don't know what happened to the magic in my thumb, but it's gone.
So in our last
do the thumb thing. Here, do your thumb with mine. Give me some of your thumb magic, Mindy. Give me some.
Where's my camera? There it
is. I need some green thumb magic back.
In our last few minutes, does anybody have any herbal remedies or anything with herbs that you want to share with our listeners? Something that easy, or that you can give me a link to a recipe or something we can put up. Like for me, I like fire cider. I always make fire cider, and there's tons of recipes out there. I use the Rosemary Gladstar recipe, and it's basically just apple cider vinegar with onion and garlic and horseradish root and turmeric and and you just let it soak and put a little honey after you drain it, and you can take a little sip through the whole winter, and it keeps you well.
I think I'm going to have to try that next year. I saw a lot about it this year. I've never done it, but I'm very intrigued by it. So I make a lot of bath and body products. My go-to bath soak recipe for tired, achy, end of the day gardening is Epsom salt with some baking soda and a little bit of sea salt, but then I make sure there's rosemary and peppermint mixed in with it. Both are very soothing and relaxing. If you're using essential oils, be careful not to put a lot of peppermint oil in it, or you will feel cold. And it's just not a nice sensation, but it's definitely very nice, calming, helps relax those muscles, those joints. And anytime I'm working on something for a client who's like, oh, I have this going on or I have that going on, I always add a little extra bonus of the rosemary peppermint bath soak. It definitely makes. And if you don't like the herby bits floating around in your tub, which I actually really don't like, you can get reusable tea bags. And you can put your loose tea, your loose herbs, even the Epsom salt and everything right in that, and then let that float around your tub. And there's no mess to have to.
I have never thought about that. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite secrets that I
love
let the world know.
What about you, Krystal?
I haven't made anything in the last couple of years, really, because of just the way we've been moving around ever since we went to nomad life. Everything is, that the making, the kitchen witch part of things that, because I used to like to make soaps and candles and those things, all of that just sort of it's not something I do anymore. And maybe someday I'll get to do it again, but these days it's not. It's more, I tend to be more of the girl that now is just, I buy stuff from other witches that make things.
I was about to say that. You're the one who can buy from the other people.
Yeah.
We don't have to make it ourselves.
No, you don't have to.
Because I used to. And then it was a matter of, like, I'm an entrepreneur and that takes precedent. Serving my people takes precedent over some of those things that I used to enjoy. Yeah. But now I like to be able to support other entrepreneurs that make those things and buy them. I had a subscription box that I loved for about a year, that every month it would come and have bath bombs and salts and lotions and candles and all stuff that they made. And it was I loved it. It was,
Mindy has a
subscription box. It's called the Magic Ritual Box. And yeah, reach out. I'll fill you in on it.
That's the hardest thing for subscription boxes for me now, is because I move every 3 months. So
I've made products for a long time, and I used to try to give out the recipes to people, and they'd be like, no, Mindy, I don't want your recipe. I want what you're making. And I'm like,
just make it. Oh, just make it, and I'll buy it from you.
Yeah. No, don't give me the recipe for bath bombs. You make it look so effortless. Just make them, and okay, I'll just make them. Okay, I enjoy it.
Well, y'all, we have come to about an hour. We've had a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much, Krystal and Mindy and Anne-Marie, for being here on our very first Broomtalk live stream. It's been amazing. All right.
Yes. And this is awesome.
Y'all have any final thoughts, final words about Green Witchcraft, or anything that you'd like to share that you have going on to promote? You're welcome to do that as well.
I'm a go with your gut girl. If it feels right, do it. If it doesn't feel right, sit down and think about it for a minute and figure out why it doesn't feel right, and just let it happen. You're on this path, you're on this journey for a reason. And even though you're like, I don't know if I'm this type of witch, I don't know if I'm that type of witch, I don't know where I belong in the world, try stuff out. Make it happen. I mean, we're all here for a reason, and got to figure it out. Just my 2 cents.
I love it.
Yep. And figuring it out, you will get there so much faster if you just start trusting yourself from the beginning. Even it's no different than when you were 6 and you were throwing rocks and sticks and dirt and water in a bowl and making potions. You're just doing the same thing. It's just now you have a little more skill at it. And it's where we all start at the beginning, right? So it's okay when your spells fail. It's totally okay when it doesn't work. Do it again. That's the funnest part is getting better and trying something new and trying something different and getting better and building that muscle, right? To where you know. Yeah, and where you just know beyond a shadow of a doubt that doesn't take all those things.
Mhm.
Doesn't take all those things. It literally just takes a. Now there's my superpower. Like now I'm dreaming genie, but it's like, and I manifested it.
Can't do the nose.
Right. Just trust yourself.
Either. Trust yourself. I love
Trust
it.
yourself.
Have fun.
Yes.
Use your intuition. You don't have to have plants to be a green witch. There's so many wonderful things that we talked about. Thank y'all so much. And remember that you can always listen to Bell Book and Candle. And here is the address to go to it and listen to all the different episodes. And if I can find a way to put this on the podcast, I will put that as well. Otherwise, we will have it here. And I just have really appreciated y'all being here. Thank you so much. And so y'all be blessed.
Bless the bees.